Hello, and thank you for purchasing the Split Screen Slider 5 Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use it. With this section, you can add custom text elements such as a title, subtitle, text block, and buttons, along with slides where you can add two media elements. The text remains in place while the media moves in a slider. To get started, let's add some media elements by clicking the blocks on the left sidebar. Once you click, you'll see multiple options, and the first one is the media selector, so you can choose between image or a video. So for example, right now is image, so we can add an image from our library like this, but you can also add a video. So if you want to add a video, you'll select here from the media selector. You can add a YouTube or a Vimeo URL, or you can also add a custom MP4 video from your library. So we can add something like this. Then we have the poster image option. With this, you can add a custom placeholder image on top of your video. So it will look like this. Okay, once you add an image, in order to see the video, the users can click on the image and see the video behind. Okay, next we have the secondary media selector, which is this one right here. So in this case, we can add maybe an image. Okay, next we had the video URL and the MP4, but in this case we can ignore it because we're using an image as secondary media. Next we had the play icon settings, and this option is only available when we're using a poster image like we're doing right now, so we can use these settings. Okay, and the first option is to add a custom play icon. So this is in case you want to add your own instead of this one, so you can add one from your library. So let's say we want something like that. Okay. Next, we have the play icon size. So by default, it's medium, but you can also select it to be small, large, or extra large. Okay, but I'm gonna keep it at medium. And down here, we have the video settings. And the first option is to autoplay the video. So right now, we won't see it because we're using a poster image. But let's say we don't have a poster image. So when this is enabled, you'll see that the video will start playing right away. Okay, so if you disable this, it will look like that. But on this example, I'm gonna keep it enabled. Next, we have the loop video option. And when this is enabled, at the end of the video will repeat again. So if we disable this, we'll see that at the end of the video will just stop like this. Okay, but for this example, I'm gonna leave it enabled. Next, we have the show controls on video. So right now it's disabled by default, but if you turn this on, you'll see that you can control the video. You can play a pause or scroll to the video. But for this example, I'm gonna keep it disabled because it looks more seamless that way for me. Now I'm going to add more media elements to the other slides and speed up the process. Now that I finished adding the media elements, let's go back to the section settings to add some text and styling. Once we open the section settings, we see some text fields. So we have a title, subtitle, and a text block. I'm using this section, a clothing store. So maybe for the title, we can add something like this, and subtitle, something like that. And I have something on my clipboard, so I'm gonna paste it. Okay, these fields are rich text, so that means that you can change the wrapping of the elements. For example, from H2, you can select it to be H1 or be H6 or a regular paragraph like this. You can also style the elements. For example, you can bold some text in it like this or apply italic. So you can do that with these fields. But for this example, I'm gonna leave this on H2 and without the italic and the bold. Okay. Next, we have the buttons, and the first option is the button label. So we can add something like this, buy now, and add a link to a product. And down here, we have an option for opening that button link on a new tab. So when this is enabled and the user clicks on a button, they will look like this. So you see that the link opens a new tab. Okay, but for now, I'm gonna keep it disabled like that. Next, we have the same for button 2, this one right here. So maybe we can add something like view all, and then add a link to a collection like that. But in case you don't need that button, you can remove the label and it will look like that. But on this example, I'm gonna leave it like this because I want a link to the collection. Next, we have the column styling, and the first option is the columns layout. So right now it's text, media, but you can change it to be media, text, media, or media, text. But maybe on this example, I'm gonna leave it like this. Okay, next we have the columns percentage. So right now by default is thirds, but you can select it to be half, quarter. So that means this will be half of the area and quarter. But you can select this to be quarter, half, or to be quarter, half, quarter. Okay, but I really like the thirds look, so I'm gonna keep it like that. Next, we have the margin between columns. So it's this distance over here. Okay, so right now it's 10 pixels, but you can increment this to make more room between them. Next, we have the column styling for mobile. So we have the same, the columns layout. And right now by default is media, text. So we'll see media, text, but you can also select it to be media, text, media, or text, media, or you can also combine them to be media and text. So this means the two media elements will be on the same row and then the text, or have it text first and media. But on this example, I'm going to leave it media, text, or actually media, and then text like this. Okay, let's go back to desktop. Next, we have the media styling. And the first option is the media dimensions. So right now, the default is original. So that means this size will be the same as the original asset. Okay, so that's why this image is tall like that. And this video is landscape, because those are the original dimensions. But you can add custom dimensions such as landscape, portrait, square, horizontal, or vertical, okay? But for this example, I'm gonna leave it as portrait. Next, we have the media height, and by default is auto. So that means these media elements will stay like that no matter how tall the section is. For example, let's say we have a lot of text in here, and this is way taller. So you see that the media elements will not expand. They will stay like that. But if you select full, you'll see that the media elements will stretch all the way 100% of the area. But for this example, I'm gonna leave it as auto and remove all the extra text. Next, we have the media border radius. And with this, you can control the corners of the media elements. So right now it's 0, but if you increment this, you'll see those curves around the media elements. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as 0. Next, we have the slider settings. And the first option is to enable the autoplay. So when this is enabled, you'll see that the slides will automatically change like that. And with this, you can adjust that speed. So for example, if I put it like that, you'll see that will change faster. But maybe that's too fast for me, so I'm gonna leave it around there. Next, we have the slider animation, and by default it's fade, so we'll create this effect like that. But if you select slide, you'll see that the elements will move horizontally like that. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as fade. Next, we have the slider navigation, and by default it's dots, so it's this right here. But you can also select it to be none, so it looks more seamless. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as dots. Next, we have the slider settings for mobile, and the first option is the navigation, so by default it's dots. But if I select arrows, you'll see the arrows right here. Okay, but for now I'm gonna keep it as dots. Let's go back. Next, we have the slider dot styling, and the first option is the background color of the wrapper. So maybe we can add something like this, and the slider color can be this color. And then for the active color, maybe we can add a highlight color like this. So the active color will show the user which is the active slide. Next, we have the slider dot size. So by default it's medium, but you can select it to be small or large. Okay, but for now I'm gonna keep it as medium. Next, we have the slider dots position. So right now it's bottom left, but you can also select it to be bottom center or bottom right. Next, we have the dots margin from text. So right now it's 10 pixels, but if you increment this, we'll make more room between them. Maybe around 20 will be fine. Next, we have the margin from edge. So this is only available when the dots are either on the left or on the right. And with this, we control that margin from this edge. The same if they're on the right side. So we'll add that margin over here. But for now, I'm gonna keep it as 0. Next, we have the dots border radius. And with this, we can control the corners of the wrapper and also the dots. If we increment this, they will look like that. Next, we have the styling for mobile. And the first option is the dots position. So right now, by default, it's at the bottom of text. Okay, but you can also select it to be at the top of text. And then you have the horizontal alignment. So you have it on left, center, or right. And next, we have the margin from text. So with this, you can control that distance. Then the margin from edge, which is this distance, and this is only available when using it on the right or on the left. For now, I'm going to keep it like that, and this on the left. Next, we have the arrow styling. So this is in case you select it to be arrows instead of dots. So let's say we have it like this. Let's go back. Okay, so you have the arrows position. Right now it's bottom of text, but you can also select it to be top of text. Then you have the margin from text, which is this distance over here. Then the margin from edge. So when you increment this, you'll push the arrows closer together. Then we have the colors, and the first option is the line color. So maybe we can add something like this. And then the arrow background. So maybe we can add something like that, or actually the line color can be lighter. Okay, then we have an option for custom arrows, so you can add your own. For example, let's say you added an icon in here for the left arrow. You can use it using this field. But for now, I really like the default ones, so I'm gonna keep it like that. Let's go back to desktop. Next, we have the section styling, and the first option is the section width. So by default, it's full width, and the content max width is 1280. So that means that the section will expand all the way, but the content will stay within these dimensions. Okay, maybe if we add a background color, we'll see it better. And if we expand this, you'll see the section is expanding all the way, but not the content. Next, we have an option for real full width. So when this is enabled, this will be ignored. So that means that the content will always expand 100% of the area, no matter how big the screen is. But for now, I'm gonna keep it like this because I want to keep the content inside these dimensions. So that's for full width, but if you select it to be regular, this content max width will be the width of the whole section. So you'll see that we'll stay within that 1280. But I really like the full width effect with the content max width, so I'm gonna keep it like this. Then we have the section border radius, and with this we control the corners of the section. So right now it's 0, but if you increment this, you'll see those curves. But for now, I'm gonna keep it at 0. Next, we have the top and bottom margin. So this is the outside distance of the section. So if I increment this, you'll see that we're making more room at the top, and the same with the bottom margin. So we'll make more room down here. Next, we have the section horizontal margin, and this is only available when using the section as regular. So let me show you. If we're using regular width, and if we don't have this horizontal margin, you'll see that the section will look full width on smaller screen. So there's no gap outside. Well, now it's not full width because on larger screens it looks like this. But if you want to add a margin outside so it doesn't look like a full width section, we can use this field to add that margin. Okay, but for now we can ignore it because we're using the section as full width for now. Next, we have the top, bottom, and horizontal padding. And while the margins are the outside distance, the padding is the inside distance. So right now it's 20 pixels. So this content is 20 pixels from the edge of the section. But if we increment this, we'll make more room on the inside. Also at the bottom, like that, and also horizontally. So if we increment this, we're adding this margin over here. But maybe that's too much. I'm gonna keep it at 20 and around 30. Okay, next we have the same settings for mobile, top, bottom, and horizontal margin, and the top, bottom, and horizontal padding. Next we have the text area styling, and the first option is the vertical alignment. So by default it's center, so it looks like that, but you can also add it to be at the top or at the bottom. But I really like it at the center, so I'm gonna keep it like that. Next we have the horizontal padding. So this controls the inside distance of the text area. So right now it's 0, but if you increment this, you'll add more room on the inside of the text area. But right now I don't need so much, so I'm gonna keep it as 0 because I really like how it looks like that. Next we have the text alignment. By default it's left. You can also select it to be center or right. Next we have the same settings for mobile, the horizontal padding, and the text alignment. Next we have the styling for the text elements, and the first one is for the subtitle. So we have the color, so maybe we can add a highlight color, maybe something like this. Okay, then we have the use custom font, and when this is enabled, you can add a font from this list. For example, we can add something like this. Then in here we have the custom font family name. So this is in case you're loading a custom font on your theme. Let's say you're loading a Helvetica, you can put here Helvetica, and that text will grab this font that you're already loading on your store. Okay, but for now I'm gonna leave it blank because I want to use this font. Next we have the font weight, and with this we can control how thin or how bold the text looks, like this. Okay, but for now I'm gonna keep it as default. Next we have the top and bottom margins. So this controls the outside distance of this element. Okay, for example, if I want to make more room down here, we can increment this. I will add more room between those elements, but I don't need so much space, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Next we have the font size, and with this we can control how big the font is. And then we have the line height, and with this we can control the vertical distance between the characters. Let me show you. So let's say we have a very big font like this, so it takes 2 lines. With the line height we can adjust this distance between them. Okay, so this is the vertical distance between the characters. Okay, but if you leave it at 0, it will grab your theme's default. The same with the font size and the letter spacing. If you keep it at 0, it will be the default from your theme. But maybe on this one, I'm going to keep it a little bigger. Next, we have the letter spacing. And while the line height is the vertical distance, the letter spacing is the horizontal distance. For example, if I increment this, you'll see that we're making room between the characters, but horizontally. But for now, I'm going to keep it at 0. Then we have the same settings for mobile, top and bottom margin, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, then we have the styling for the title, which is this one right here. So maybe for the title we can add something like this with a custom font, and maybe we can make the font bigger. Then we have the same settings for mobile, top and bottom margin, the font size, line height, and letter spacing. Then we have the styling for the text block, which is this right here. So maybe for the text block we can make it gray and also a little bigger like this. Then we have the same for mobile, the margins, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Then we have the button styling, and the first option is the buttons layout. So by default they're side by side, but you can also select it to be stacked. Then we have the gap between buttons. So it's this distance over here and over here. So right now it's 10 pixels, but if you increment this, you'll make more room between them. Then we have the bottom margin top. So with this, we control the outside distance. So we can increment this. I will make more room between the elements. The same with the margin bottom. So if we adjust this, we'll make more room between these. If we select the margin bottom to be 0, we might still see a margin between them, and this is probably coming from the slider dots. The same with the margin top of the button. So you see this margin is probably coming from the text block. So if we add the text block to be 0 at the margin bottom, we'll see that there's no margin at all. Okay? But for now, I'm going to keep it 10 pixels like that. And the margin top also to be around 20. So in total, we have 30 pixels, the 10 pixels from here and the 20 pixels from here. Next, we have the paddings, and this controls the distance between the text and the edge of the button. So right now it's 20 pixels, okay? But if we make more room, you see that we added more space in here. The same with the vertical padding. So if we adjust this, we'll make the buttons taller because there's more distance on the inside vertically, okay? But for now, maybe around here looks good for me. Next, we have the same text styling settings, the custom font, so maybe we can add something like this, okay? Then the font weight, font size, and letter spacing. Okay, so right now it's 0, so that means it's the default for my theme, but if you want to adjust this, you can use in this field. Then down here, we have the same settings for mobile, the buttons layout, gap between buttons, the margins, the paddings, and the font size. Then we have the button borders, and the first option is the border radius, and with this, we control the corners of the button. So right now it's 0, but if we adjust this, we'll see those curves on the buttons. Then we have the border width, so right now it's 0, but if we add a border width, you'll see it on the outside of the button like that, okay? Then we have the button colors, so we have the text color, the background color, and the border color. The border is only available when you have a border width, so if you have it like this, you won't see it, this color. But maybe we can add it to be 4 like that, okay? And you can also create a layout like this where you don't have a background color and you have it like that, so it's only the outline of the button when you don't have a background color. But maybe this is too much. I'm gonna keep it around 2. And actually these colors can be dark, so maybe something like that, okay? And down here we have the button hover colors. So these are the colors when a user puts the mouse over the button like this. So maybe on hover we can have this color, and the border color also to be the same, so it looks more seamless. I really like how it looks, so I'm gonna save it, and that's it. Thank you again. If you have any questions or if you run into any issues, please don't hesitate to contact us via the support page on our website. Thank you and take care.